The city never forgot that night. The skies were a mixture of smoke and rain, the kind of atmosphere that feels like it's holding its breath. Streetlights reflected on wet pavement like melting stars, and somewhere in the quiet corners of Beijing, two hearts stood still, one last time. Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo faced each other beneath a flickering street lamp, the air between them thick with unspoken words and memories too heavy to carry. It wasn't just a goodbye. It was the goodbye, the one that ended an era, a friendship, a love that never got its full chance to bloom. They had walked down that empty street before, countless times, laughing after long shoots, sharing secrets between takes, hiding behind sunglasses and hoodies from the world that never stopped watching them. But that night, the world seemed to disappear. The cameras were gone, the whispers faded. It was just them, Xiao Zhan, eyes red but soft, and Wang Yibo, whose usual calm expression now trembled at the edges. Rain began to fall, slow, deliberate drops that splashed against the pavement like tears from the sky itself. Yibo looked up for a second, his jaw tightening, as if the heavens were mocking them with its timing. Xiao Zhan let out a small, broken laugh. Even the sky can't hold it in, he whispered. Yibo's hand twitched at his side, wanting to reach out but hesitating, always hesitating. He had spent years building walls of composure, hiding his emotions behind that stoic charm that millions adored. But tonight, the walls cracked. Every moment, every memory of Xiao Zhan's laughter, his warmth, his stubborn kindness, it all came flooding back like a storm he couldn't outrun. Do you really have to go? Yibo's voice was barely audible, drowned beneath the sound of the rain. Xiao Zhan looked down, his breath fogging in the cold air. You know I have to. It's time. That was the cruel truth. Time. It had been their friend once, back when they were young and wild. Two dreamers chasing lights that didn't always shine fair. But fame had its own hunger. It took from them privacy, freedom, peace, and now it was taking each other. Their paths had diverged. Xiao Zhan was leaving for an overseas project that would keep him away indefinitely. Yibo's new commitments would keep him bound to China for years. It wasn't a breakup. It was the quiet unraveling of something beautiful, something both had kept hidden for far too long. The streetlight above them flickered again, and for a moment, everything froze. The rain, the sound, the world. Xiao Zhan took a small step forward. His breath mingled with Yibo's as he looked up, eyes filled with the same gentle warmth that had always undone Yibo's defenses. Thank you, he said softly, for everything, for believing in me when no one else did. Yibo swallowed hard. You don't have to thank me, he murmured. You were the reason I believed in myself. There was a long pause, the kind that feels eternal. Then, Xiao Zhan smiled faintly. Then let's not say goodbye, he said, voice trembling. Let's just stop time for a second. And before Yibo could answer, Xiao Zhan leaned forward. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't dramatic. It was slow, heartbreakingly slow, like a confession years in the making. The rain slipped between them, cool and electric. Yibo closed his eyes, letting himself fall into the kiss, that last, lingering touch that carried every word they never dared to speak. It wasn't just lips meeting. It was memories, it was laughter, it was pain and hope colliding. For those few seconds, time did stop. The city disappeared. The noise fell away. There was only them, two souls bound by silence and starlight. When they finally pulled apart, neither could speak. The rain had soaked them through, but they didn't move. Xiao Zhan's tears mixed with the raindrops, and Yibo lifted a trembling hand to brush one from his cheek. You'll do great, he said, voice breaking. You always do. And you'll wait? Xiao Zhan asked, almost pleading. Yibo didn't answer with words. Instead, he reached for Xiao Zhan's hand, pressing something into his palm, a small silver chain with a single charm shaped like a feather. You once said you wanted to fly, Yibo said quietly. So, when you do, remember who believed you could. Xiao Zhan's breath hitched. Yibo. Don't say it, Yibo cut in softly. Just promise you'll come back when the world isn't watching. The words lingered between them, heavy and eternal. Then, Xiao Zhan nodded. He turned, walking slowly toward the waiting car at the end of the street. Each step felt like a chapter closing. The engine hummed to life, headlights slicing through the rain, and as the car began to move, Yibo stood alone under the street lamp, drenched, silent, and utterly still. But just before the car turned the corner, Xiao Zhan rolled down the window and looked back. Their eyes met one last time, and though distance had already begun to stretch between them, that look said everything. "I'll never forget you." When the car disappeared into the mist, Yibo tilted his head back toward the sky. The rain kept falling, but this time, he didn't move. His lips still tingled from that kiss. The last one, the one that carried both farewell and forever. Back in his apartment later that night, Yibo sat by the window, the feather charm's twin hanging around his own neck. His phone buzzed, a message from Xiao Zhan. Just 3 words, "Don't forget me." Yibo smiled faintly, typing back, "Not in this lifetime." Months passed. Seasons changed. The city moved on. The headlines shifted, but somewhere in the quiet corners of their hearts, that rainy night lived on, a memory too beautiful, too painful, to fade. Fans who caught glimpses of them later would notice something subtle. The way Yibo sometimes looked at the sky during concerts, or how Xiao Zhan would pause mid-performance, eyes glistening with something unspoken. They had said goodbye, but maybe, in some small, infinite way, that kiss made sure they'd never really part. Because love like that doesn't end. It simply transforms into silence, into longing, into songs that will echo through time. So, whenever you hear Xiao Zhan's voice trembling with emotion, or see Wang Yibo standing alone on stage under the soft wash of blue lights, remember this story. Remember that sometimes the most powerful love stories aren't the ones that end with forever. They are the ones that end with a goodbye kiss that lives forever in the rain. The night was colder than before. The memory of the rain still lingered in the streets, as if the city itself refused to let go of what it had witnessed. The echo of that last kiss, tender, aching, unforgettable, seemed to hang in the air long after Xiao Zhan's car disappeared into the mist. But for Wang Yibo, time had frozen at that very moment. The rain had stopped, but the storm inside him hadn't. He stood there beneath the flickering streetlight, staring at the empty road where Xiao Zhan had vanished. The silence was deafening. Every droplet that hit the ground seemed to whisper Xiao Zhan's name. His fingers brushed against the feather charm hanging around his neck, the twin to the one he had given away, and a bittersweet smile curved his lips. That feather wasn't just a symbol. It was a promise, a reminder of a night when love defied everything that tried to silence it. When he finally walked home, the streets glistened like glass. Every reflection reminded him of Xiao Zhan's eyes, soft, shimmering, filled with both strength and sorrow. Yibo's steps were slow, deliberate, as if part of him was afraid to reach home because it would mean accepting that Xiao Zhan was truly gone. He pushed open the door to his quiet apartment. The smell of coffee still lingered from the morning, the same coffee Xiao Zhan used to make, always a little too strong, always accompanied by that teasing smile that made the whole place feel alive. But tonight, everything felt hollow. The walls echoed, the air was still, and the faint hum of the city outside sounded like a lullaby for the lonely. Yibo walked to the window and pulled back the curtain. From there, he could still see the street lamp where they had shared that final kiss. The image replayed in his mind like a film. The way Xiao Zhan's lips trembled, the way his eyes closed just before their mouths met, the way everything went silent except for the sound of their hearts. He exhaled, fogging up the cold glass before whispering to himself, "You didn't say goodbye, did you?" The next morning, sunlight filtered through the blinds, weak, hesitant, almost afraid to touch the emptiness that had settled in. Wang Yibo's phone buzzed with messages from managers, producers, and fans, but none of it mattered. He opened the last message from Xiao Zhan again. "Don't forget me." He typed and deleted his reply several times before finally writing, "As if I could." But the truth was, he didn't just remember, he relived it. Every sound, every word, every heartbeat of that night haunted him. Sometimes, he'd wake up in the middle of the night, thinking he heard Xiao Zhan's laughter echoing from the kitchen. Or he'd see a flash of movement and imagine Xiao Zhan standing by the door, drenched in rain, smiling that gentle smile. Weeks passed, and the world kept turning. Xiao Zhan's new project overseas exploded in popularity. His name filled headlines again, Xiao Zhan's triumphant return, the star who captivated the world. Meanwhile, Wang Yibo threw himself into his work, dancing, filming, performing with his usual perfection. But behind every performance, behind every camera flash, there was a hidden ache. During one concert, as Yibo stood on stage under a wash of soft blue lights, he looked out into the crowd, thousands of fans waving light sticks, cheering his name. But for a brief second, he imagined Xiao Zhan standing in the front row, smiling just for him. His voice wavered as he sang, and the fans thought it was emotion from the song. But deep down, he knew he was singing to someone who wasn't there. That night, after the show, Yibo sat alone in his dressing room. The walls were covered with posters, gifts, flowers, but all he saw was the feather charm on his wrist. He took a deep breath and whispered, "You said you'd come back when the world isn't watching. I'm still waiting." Far away, in another city bathed in golden light, Xiao Zhan stood by a hotel balcony overlooking the ocean. The waves roared below, endless and wild, and the wind tugged at his hair as he held the silver feather chain in his hand. He pressed it to his lips and closed his eyes. "Do you still wear yours?" he murmured to the sea, his voice trembling. Even in success, there was an emptiness he couldn't escape. The cameras adored him. Fans screamed his name. But when the lights went off, the silence returned. And in that silence, he heard the echo of Wang Yibo's voice. That last, "You'll do great," that had become both comfort and curse. One evening, after filming, he wandered through the streets alone. The night air felt familiar, cool, with a hint of rain. He stopped by a small cafe that reminded him of the one they used to visit between shoots. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, and he smiled softly, whispering, "Too strong, right?" Like Yibo was right there beside him. Suddenly, the cafe's radio played a song, the same song that had been playing quietly that rainy night when they said goodbye. His heart stopped. He turned toward the window, and for a moment, he could almost see the reflection of Wang Yibo standing behind him. His eyes glistened, and a single tear slipped down his cheek before he looked away. Love never really leaves. It lingers in the smallest things, a song, a scent, a raindrop. Months later, fate played its trick again. An awards ceremony brought them both back under the same roof. Same red carpet, same cameras, same flashes of light. The crowd roared as Xiao Zhan arrived, elegant and calm, his eyes scanning the sea of faces. And then, there he was, Wang Yibo, standing just a few steps away, dressed in black, poised and unreadable. Their eyes met across the crowd. For a moment, everything went quiet. No words, no movement, just the weight of that memory between them. The rain had stopped outside, but both could still feel it, the chill, the warmth, the last kiss that had never left their souls. A soft smile ghosted across Xiao Zhan's lips. Yibo's heart clenched. In that glance, 1,000 things were said. "I missed you. I remember. I never forgot." They didn't touch. They didn't speak. But sometimes, silence is louder than any word, and a single look can carry all the love two people were never allowed to show. Later that night, as the stars glittered above the city, both of them stood on different balconies of the same hotel, separated by walls but connected by memory. They looked at the same moon, holding the same feather charms, and whispered at the same time, "Until we meet again." The night carried their voices away, weaving them into the wind, two souls forever bound by that final kiss, by a promise whispered in the rain. Because some goodbyes aren't endings. They are beginnings of forever. Sparkles, if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more breathtaking love stories that will make your heart race and your soul ache in the most beautiful way.